It is time for me to begin with the official hashtag joyant, the official hashtag jubilant hello to all of my good friends out there circling the globe. My name is Doug. This is Trade with Doug, and I welcome you to another video, a video in which I hope puts some money in your pocket before this very short week is over. We're also starting a brand new month, so I hope you have gotten off to a very good start and you're achieving your trading goals. Now, if you're not, or you're trying to go to another level as a trader, let me remind you that there are 3 valuable links down below in the description box, valuable to the success of your trading career, the development of your trading career, I should say. The first is access to the free DVD. This builds on the very best lessons I have learned over 2 decades as a trader. The second will be access to the private community where you can trade alongside of me each day in a screen sharing audio environment, very similar to what you're seeing here. And the third is access to the inner circle, which includes the brand new checkmark course and lifetime access to the private community, as well as the day trade room. So make sure you guys check that out if you're interested. The details are down in the description box. Lo and behold, in front of you, look who appears upon the screen. It is the legendary Peloton. I speak in legendary terms because many of you know I've done several videos of this last year. Was the biggest trade for me by far. I got in roughly around 27, 28, rode it all the way up here to the 160s. I've bought it a few times on shorter time frames, but never really got back into the longer picture. We've gone through some sort, I don't want to say of a correction. Let me get my trusty pen out here. But we've gone through a nice pullback here from the 171s, which was the high, down into this 200-day moving average, which was March. Now from there was a period, I don't want to say struggle, but there was a period of consolidation. There was a period of just back and forth whipsaw action, and we saw the same type of behavior in something like FUBO. We saw the same type of behavior in NEO, where all of these big time momentum stocks, these big time runners, really went through a cleanse where they got corrected. Many of them was 30 to 50%. We've talked about several of those. Well, this never really manifested into what I had thought at the time was going to be another run up to the 171s. What it did, which stocks can do several times, is, kind of re-gear a little bit lower. I shouldn't use the word re-gear. I should just say rotate lower, losing this 200-day moving average. By the way, this is the 200-day moving average, guys. Just a simple moving average. And then once it lost that, there was a pretty extensive flush, taking this thing down to 80. Now, since then, just as FUBO and VUZI and Pavem and the rest of the stocks I've been talking about, many of these have made an incredible remount. They've really kind of cleaned themselves up, and the cream is starting to rise to the top. So when you're going through a cycle like this and you have tons of Momo, they all kind of get hit at once, they go down, and then the cream, the very best of the best, will rise while the other trash stays at the bottom. And I think this is a good thing for Peloton. Now, again, I'm not the fundamental analysis here, so you're not going to get that from me. I'm always more of a technical trader, and I work from momentum, and that's normally where I'm at. I mean, I know what they do. We've talked about the fundies before. We talked about the upside potential. And one of the things I mentioned on that before was there's always a recipe for stocks that Wall Street itself and other traders, investors don't understand. And we saw this years ago with Netflix. It was just a streaming service. We saw this with Roku. Oh, it's just another streaming service. And these things become heavily shorted. I think we're seeing that now with WOW, W-O-W, one that I mentioned here recently. And when you kind of have that mix, and it's a cheaper stock, they're in their 20s and 30s, they eventually make it to triple digits. I mean, even NVIDIA went through this hatred at one point. Tesla was probably the king of that. It often creates that perfect recipe for these things to really become long-term viable stocks where they trade into several triple digits. Again, I mean, I've been around long enough. I remember trading Facebook in the 19s and $20 and NVIDIA at $30. Actually, $14 I once had owned NVIDIA. I remember Tesla when it was 44. So there's a lot of stocks that you guys are looking at right now that are trading in the 20s and 30s that will one day be 100, and there's ones that will be 100 that will move into the 400s. I'm not saying that's necessarily Peloton, but there's a certain recipe here, a behavior where it kind of reminds me of that. But every day is a new day, is it not? So let's talk about now. There was already a breakout here, and I think I mentioned this one about a week ago in one of the market mutterings. We already had a breakout. You don't want to get involved in chasing the breakouts. Plus, that was right at a predictable resistance zone. But since then, You've had a nice period of consolidation, which has lasted about 10 trading sessions, and then you've now moved up outside of that. So can kind of remember what I keep talking about for those. I mean, I know the inner circle traders know this, the box theory, where you're moving from one range to the next range and to the next range all through the cycle, and then you've moved outside of that again. So what you're continuing to do here technically is repeat the same pattern. You're bouncing and consolidating, then you're leaving range and you're consolidating, then you're leaving range and consolidating. And I'm kind of anticipating that Peloton is going to continue to do this all the way back up to 180. Now, I don't expect this to be something that we're going to see like tomorrow, but I like this because we come out of recently of a very strong week of 5 straight up days from 110, almost touching 130. Again, you don't want to chase these stocks. You want to wait for them to pull back. So now here over the last 4 to 5 trading sessions, we have a nice pullback. Now, one of the things you guys also should understand about pullbacks is they're telling in themselves about what the future may hold for a stock. You can tell a lot about a pullback. If a stock goes up high and then gives it all back, that's normally a bad sign. You don't want it giving up, all of its gains like a cheap prom date. You just don't want to get involved in that. Light volume pullbacks where you're seeing like lower amounts of volume and a really nice slide lower is normally a healthy cycle in every stock, which signifies most of the time, I say most, not all the time, most of the time higher prices. The other thing I like is I want to come back and put into focus the 200-day moving average right here, right? SMA, simple moving average. It is right off of this here at 120. So it just kind of kissed that just a little bit. And it looks like, if I could forecast this pattern, that is just pulled back into this 200-day moving average and now is ready to check mark back up possibly into the 160s. Now, what's also special about this is it's been a long time. If we go back, when I say a long time, all the way into April, all the way back into April, where Peloton has held above the 200-day moving average. So once it had finally broken the 200-day moving average a few days ago, it was normal to see a nice press. And again, there's no randoms in markets. It was just a retest of this area right here, these resistances back from April. And it just kind of pulled back into that. Then it uses the 200-day moving average as a supporting area and now bouncing off of it. So I think technically you can see the picture here that there's a lot of things that are very good for this. Number one was the reclaiming of the 200-day moving average right here. The second is a pullback from resistance, pulling back into the 200 and then using that 200-day moving average as a supporting area. Those both add some clues for you guys. It gives you validity that the run that started back at 80 still has legs in it. And actually, if you look at this area right here of the 130s, it's kind of special. You have this spot here the other day. You have 2 spots here in April. And you can even go all the way back here to the early parts of February, where that 130 has been a ceiling. So there's big relevance to that number as well. If we can get a press through that here on this next leg, you could see something very special. You could see a big inflection move or a very large impulse move. So what's the trade, guys? Here it is. I already have a position in here. I've been in since the hundreds back here again on another reentry. I'm thinking actually about adding to my position, and I'm not saying that because I'm in it, but I really do like the setup here. You can go long here in this 123s, 124s is a fine entry. You can use this 200-day moving average as your guide, as your stop loss. First target would be back into the 130 area where it was a few days ago. And if you made that move back up into this level, then I would suggest moving a stop towards the break even, taking the pressure off of that trade. Or if you had happened to go in sizable with your initial entry, maybe peeling a little bit off of there, I couldn't fault you for that. And then seeing if this thing has enough power to press through 130, because that's where, let's say, the magic will happen, where I think we can start filling in a lot of this void. Because when you look back there, you don't have anything up until, roughly 160. So there's a lot of room in this chart. 130 is going to be the future where it needs to press through. If we can get in here in the 123s, 124s, there's a little bit of money up until that point. But getting through that, it may do the same thing over and over again. It may push up here to the 130s, then flag again, and then really explode. But I'm expecting this to happen here sometime during the course of the month. So anyway, guys, that's my thoughts, views, feelings, and my outlook on the lovely Peloton. I get it. It is a beast in the waiting, ready to explode. And I hope that explosion puts Skrilla in your pockets. So guys, I want to thank you again. If you need any help, you know where to reach out to me. If you're just somebody that wants to ask me some questions, shoot me an email to my email address. It's also down there. I'll be glad to help you in any way I possibly can. Until the next video, take care, trade well. I'll see you soon.